Hi everybody, I just got done watching the final episode of the Pokemon anime featuring Ash. That's right, the anime is not over, of course, they still have to make money, but Ash's story as of today, March 24th, 2023, Ash's story came to an end. And I literally just finished watching it like not even a couple minutes ago, and I'm feeling a bit teary-eyed, I have to say. I really am. Not crying, I almost cried watching the finale, but my goodness. I don't even know where to start, really. I really don't. It's very nostalgic. The last 12 episodes were a part of this series that wraps up Ash's whole journey, and I've seen some mixed opinions around. Honestly, I didn't have enough time to kind of catch up with the series. I literally watched all 12 episodes today. I haven't been watching them when they're released. I probably should have been, but I just been busy doing other things. And sorry, this is just going to be more of a laid back video, just kind of talking about what I thought about it. I won't spoil anything until later, so I'll give a spoiler warning, of course. It's just kind of crazy that it's over now. And I'll also talk about the new anime. They released a few trailers for the new anime. I'll talk about that at the end as well. But a part of me honestly can't believe that this is the end of Ash's story, because literally Ash already existed by the time I was even born. I grew up with this character. It was always Ash and Pikachu. No matter what, I'd go through different video games, different shows, different interests, but every time I went to Pokemon, Ash and Pikachu were always there. They're always there waiting for me when I came back to it. And that was so, I don't know, it was really special, I guess. It was a really special feeling. And I think it really took Ash's story coming to an end for me to really realize that. I kind of always just took it for granted that Ash and Pikachu would kind of just be there forever. And I didn't realize how attached I was to his character until I realized this would be the end, because it was nothing that I really thought too hard about. I was always just yeah, Ash and Pikachu, a really awesome duo. You can't go wrong with them. But just seeing this entire, I don't know if I should say world, but just seeing that entire 20 plus years of stuff just all being referenced, they at the end of certain episodes they have the old intros play, even in the 3:4 aspect ratio, dude. They literally just play that stuff. There's even an episode where Ash and Pikachu get separated and they have them both looking up at the full moon at night, and it plays back a ton of their memories going through together, the day Ash first got Pikachu. I think it plays the time when Pikachu also was fighting the whole Raichu situation in the Thunderstone, and when he got possessed or whatever. It was just gosh, dude, there was so many little things, so much attention to detail. And I was seeing some people commenting on it, saying that they thought that this story was underwhelming or whatever, and I was I don't really see it, because for what I see it as, Pokemon Journeys was I think it was because a lack of real importance or plot. When it comes to the plot, in my opinion, it was when Ash took on all the champions in Leon at the end of Pokemon Journeys. But this 12-part series here is just an epilogue to his character. It's not supposed to be some super brand new startup grand adventure. It's supposed to be one last story for Ash. And how the first episode starts, Ash and Pikachu, they come to this crossroads. And so to decide which way to go, they pick up a stick, throw it in the air, and then it lands down and faces toward the left path. And then it's okay, we should go to left path. But then Ash is nah, we're gonna go to the right. And then he and Pikachu have some little funny teasing each other moments. It's pretty cute. But they decide to go off to the right, and that leads them on this 12-part adventure. Them going to the right makes it so Ash eventually meets up with Misty, and then in the next episode they meet up with Brock and Silent. Silent steps away after one episode, but for the majority of the series, it's the original trio, Ash, Brock, and Misty, back together, which is honestly really cool. And those are the only three that really return. That's a lie. Tracy and Gary both return as well. But for the most part, there's no we don't see May, Max, Dawn, Iris, Serena, Clement, the rest of the characters. And I think it works well. Like, we don't really need to, like, bring back everybody. I think they did a lot of that in Journeys. I actually didn't finish Journeys, unfortunately. I still have to. I watched, like, 50 episodes, but there's still, like, 100 more I have to watch. Not that many, but I think there's, like, 70 or something. I don't know. But, like, throughout each episode, there is, like, a sort of ongoing story. In the first episode, Ash finds this hurt Latias in the lake, and basically he takes care of it. And Team Rocket tries to capture the Team Rocket moment. Team Rocket kind of doing like the same thing in each episode, trying to steal Pikachu, fail, try again the next episode. That's literally it. And it's great, dude. It's great. There's some Team Rocket development near the end of the series, which is pretty good. But basically, this Latias, after Ash saved her, she starts following him around in each episode. At the end of each episode, there's usually like a certain thing that happens. You can see Latias at the end sort of watching over Ash, and that kind of comes into play in like the final few episodes. I also forgot to mention this. At the end of episodes 1 and 2, there's a couple shorts with Team Rocket where they actually go to Paldea and actually meet Miraidon and Koraidon, which is pretty cool. So we did get to see a little sneak peek of Paldea, which is pretty cool. In the second episode, Ash meets up with Misty, and they basically have a battle to catch this Clawitzer, which is a reference to when they did it in the past, I'm pretty sure. I actually haven't seen that episode specifically, but they battled for a Pokemon in the past, and this time Ash uses like Corphish versus Misty's Politoed, and Misty wins this, so it shows that Ash is not like always going to be undefeatable, despite the fact that he's the champion now. I mean, if he won, he could have just gone Pikachu and swept that Politoed, no problem. But he decided to give his Corphish a try, which was pretty cool. And there's just like a whole bunch of little references throughout the show. Team Rocket shows up as well. It's really good. And then in episode 3, we see what Brock has been up to. And he's still the whole love-struck Brock that he is, falling for every single girl that he sees. And then Silence shows up as well. Basically, a Hatterene tricks Brock into this forest. And there's not too much in this episode, honestly. Not really too much. It's kind of just more funny. But it's nice to see, like, the gang coming back together. And at the end, they have, like, this funny Brock ending from the original show, I'm gonna guess. I honestly haven't seen these as well. Maybe it's because I haven't seen the Japanese specific versions. Maybe that's why I haven't seen these endings, but they're still pretty interesting. The fourth episode is also a pretty interesting one. Honestly, not too much happens here, but it really shows, like, Ash's, I guess, character when it comes to him and wild Pokemon, or just any Pokemon in general, how he's always willing to go out and help them. That's kind of like one of the biggest things in this series is like Ash finds a new Pokemon and he cares for it and they become friends. Like, that's pretty much the simplicities of these episodes. So in the fourth episode, he finds this really powerful Beartic that can't control its ice powers, and after a bit of training, the Beartic keeps failing, but once they get stuck into some sticky situation, the Beartic tries to protect Ash, and through trying to protect Ash, it's able to control its powers a little bit better, and they become friends, they stay out of danger, and the Beartic befriends all the Pokemon in the woods that the Pokemon used to be scared of it. It's pretty simple stuff, and it's really good. It's really, really good. Again, nothing too, like, majorly plot important here. Like, this could just be, like, your standard episode of Pokemon. But I think it really works here because you see Ash always going out of his way to help a Pokemon. Even when they fell down this canyon, which is the sticky situation I was talking about, he said, "Hey, Beartic, you can climb up here. Please, take Pikachu and Oshawott. I'll stay down here." Because he, like, hurt his leg or whatever. So it's like Ash is always prioritizing, like, the safety of Pokemon. And it's like, it's second nature to him. It really is. There's, like, a funny gag with it, too. It's like, literally Ash cares so much for Pokemon that he's always willing to, like, put them first before himself. And it's literally just second nature to him. He doesn't even have to think about it. Like, that's just the thing that he does. And, like, the thing is, he just does it because it just literally is in his nature. At the start of the episode, he literally chases down the Beartic because, hey, that guy looks sad. Well, let's go help him. And, like, that's how simple his journeys are. He literally just, like, sees a sad Pokemon and chooses, like, yeah, let's go help this Pokemon. And that's exactly, like, his version of being a Pokemon master, is, like, befriending and helping every single Pokemon in need. And we'll get to that. In episode 5, there's a lot of callbacks to the Kanto anime because he runs into like the Squirtle Squad, which are now like firefighters. It's been a while since I've seen this episode. I'm not entirely sure what the original premise of the episode was. I just remember the Squirtle Squad were like pranksters in the beginning, but now they're firefighters and they're like celebrities of the town, which is pretty cool. And basically we got Bulbasaur and Charizard and Squirtle getting to like all meet up, and there's like some tension between them at first because of Team Rocket getting in the way, but eventually there's like a fire and they put it all out together and they become friends at the end. Honestly, it was a pretty simple episode, nothing too crazy, but it had lots of references and lots of heartfelt moments. Again, just re-emphasizing the ties that Ash already has with Pokemon that are all over the world. You know, he's got freaking Squirtle here, Pokemon. Like, he's using a lot of his Pokemon. I forgot to kind of say this. Ash, in these episodes, is just kind of cycling through all his Pokemon that he's used throughout the series. Another thing that he's been doing throughout a lot of these episodes is he'll kind of give, like, this 1,000-yard stare a lot, where he's kind of just staring off into space. And when I first noticed this, I was like, what is he doing? But the more I kind of felt it, I kind of felt myself sort of just staring off into space whenever I was thinking about each episode after it ended. Every time I was watching one of these episodes, and especially the last episode, it just made me think this is the last time, like, this is going to happen. This is the last interaction that we're going to see with Ash and his Pokemon. Like, we know he's still gonna go on adventures after this. We know he's still got stuff to do. His journey isn't over, it's just we just won't know what comes next in his journey. All we know is that he's going to be continuing with this journey, and it's just really interesting. It really is. Moving on to episode 6. This one is actually one of my personal favorites, probably my second favorite episode of the finale. Basically, they get into a fight with Team Rocket, and this time, Pikachu actually blasts off with Team Rocket instead. And James and Jessie go one way, and Pikachu and Meowth go another way. And I have to say, I really like this because there's a lot of times where Meowth, when separated from Jessie and James, is actually just like a pretty chill dude. Like, he's kind of scummy here and there, you know, he's a selfish cat. But like they've all got big hearts underneath. I mean, all three of the characters do, but it's like really funny that like whenever Meowth is separated from Jessie and James and he's just hanging out with like just the Pokemon, those are always some of the most special moments of the anime to me, because not only is he constantly translating what the Pokemon have to say, so we can kind of get like a little more insight into each Pokemon's personality, it's also just nice for Meowth to just like get out and bond with Pokemon. I don't know, it's something that I've always loved, especially in like the Pikachu shorts when there's no like humans. Meowth is the only one who can talk, so it's just, he really is just like this bridge between like the people and the Pokemon, and it's something that I'm kind of hoping they find a way to, I don't know about replicate, but it's gonna be hard not having Meowth in the series either, because like he was always like such a unique character being a talking Pokemon. So whether they bring that back or not, it's just gonna be, there's definitely gonna be some sort of void without Meowth in the story. But anyways, back to this episode. Pikachu and Meowth basically team up to try and get back to their respective owners. What Meowth's goal is, he wants to meet up with Jessie and James first so that they can catch Pikachu. But Pikachu is just all about getting back to Ash. And like throughout the whole episode, you can just see like Ash and Pikachu having like this soul link, I swear. That's like they're basically like, oh yeah, I know Pikachu's heading this way, or Pikachu's like, yeah, Ash is headed this way. It's like it's really interesting. There's also like a whole hat hunt where Pikachu keeps dropping Ash's hat, keeps getting lost, so he keeps hunting it down. They also team up with a Caterpie, which is like super adorable, and they just keep getting into like a bunch of trouble. Ash befriends a Rattata and a Pidgey, which is really cute, which ends up helping them out in later in the episode. It's really cute, and without getting into like too many details, basically near the end, it's like nighttime, and Pikachu and Ash are both looking up at the moon, and like I said earlier, they're having like a bunch of reflections of their time together. And there's this really interesting line that Misty says, and that is that Ash isn't himself without Pikachu. Pikachu is basically just his other half, and he's given like this whole 1,000-yard stare at the moon, being like, oh, I wonder if Pikachu's looking at the moon too. And it's honestly just like really true, because they've been through every journey together. It's always been Ash and Pikachu, you know, like he's cycled out his team of Pokemon, and even his friends, Misty and Brock, were there for a long time, but they sort of left, and then we had new characters come along. But Ash and Pikachu were always like a constant, so whenever they're apart, he just knows that something's wrong. He's like, yeah, Pikachu's always here. Without Pikachu, like, this just doesn't feel right. In the morning, the two end up reuniting like really, really fast. Apparently they were camping like relatively close to each other as well. And Meowth meets up with Team Rocket once again, and they kind of just go their separate ways. But Ash and Pikachu, when reuniting, they also fall off a cliff, but Latias saves them, which is pretty cool. Which is just, again, coming back into the later episodes. But this one was just an episode that kind of just was focused on Ash and Pikachu's relationship, and I really liked that. The next episode is pretty simple, but honestly really, really funny. I think this is probably the funniest episode, if not just for the sounds of the Pokemon. But basically, the whole story is that Ash finds the Lapras from back in the day, and the Lapras takes him to this island where there's a Wailmer like stuck in the ground. So they go through like a bunch of trials and tribulations to rescue this little Wailmer, pulling it out of the ground. Eventually they succeed by fishing it out with a whole team of Pokemon, which is pretty cool. And then it's so funny, the Wailmer is so happy. It bounces and bounces and bounces and bounces, and then it gets stuck again inside the mountain, but not really, because it evolves into a Wailord. It's literally just like, it's so funny because they went through like so much work, and then it was just like, well, we gotta deal with the Wailord now. It's so funny. Like Team Rocket are also there trying to like steal some Pokemon, and Pikachu basically threatens them into helping them get this Wailord out of there. So like the whole team of Pokemon there, and Ash and everybody, Team Rocket, everybody teams up to help save this Wailord. And they eventually get the Wailord out of this little canyon, but Ash accidentally gets stuck in the canyon because the rocks that came from when the Wailord got out like fell in, so there's no way for Ash to get out. But then the Wailord and the Lapras team up and use like a combination of like freezing the ice, then using Weather Ball to help save Ash. So it's really cool. Again, this one's just getting to see the old Lapras again is really nice, but it just shows how Ash is always willing to help out Pokemon, and how in turn Pokemon will always help out Ash because of his kind heart, and it's really nice. And at the end, Misty and Brock are saying like, oh, I bet Lapras probably just couldn't leave that Wailmer alone, just like a certain someone we know. And then Ash is just like, huh? Who? Which I find to be really interesting, because it could just be Ash being stupid, but when I first watched it, I took it more as like the whole Ash helping Pokemon just being a second nature thing. Where Misty and Brock, obviously they're gonna help Pokemon, but they know they're like, it's like, oh yeah, I'm doing a good thing here, yeah? We're helping. Whereas Ash is just like, he doesn't even have to think about it. It's literally just like natural to him. It just straight up comes natural to him. Like he couldn't think of anything else. Like he would rather help a Pokemon than like go do his own thing, right? He would never choose not to help a Pokemon. Like it's not even a choice. It's just like, that's just what he does. He just does that. It's just, that's Ash, dude. And I really like that a lot. There's also a funny gag at the end where it's like, wait, couldn't we have just caught the Wailmer or Wailord in a Pokeball? Wouldn't have that made everything much easier? And then Ash was like, oh yeah, well this was more fun. Again, this is probably the funniest episode of the finale series, but not too focused on the plot, just some good old fun. The next episode is a pretty heartfelt one. I'll kind of speed through it though, because it's not like super important to the story. It's just kind of Ash helping out Pokemon again. So basically, they find out that there's this Banette that's stealing a bunch of heart-shaped items around the town, and it's basically trying to get an accessory that its old owner gave to it back when it was still like a plushie, because Banette, in the lore, is a ghost Pokemon that is born from abandoned like dolls and plushies, which I find to be pretty interesting. I didn't even know that, honestly. So what happens is that Misty has like this little heart-shaped accessory she got at the beginning of the episode, and she gives it to the Banette, and the Banette actually really likes it, so it stops stealing things. But then they go the extra mile and try and find its owner, and it's revealed in the past that this little girl who owned this little plushie that turned into the Banette, she lost the plushie when she moved away. And she actually moved back, so they found the person, and it turned out that it was a grown-up Nurse Joy, which I thought was actually like pretty interesting. So they get a little heartfelt reunion, and it's simple as that. It's actually really, really sweet. I think this works better as like a solo episode as opposed to being in like this final arc, but it was still a pretty emotional episode. Latias is watching over Ash once again as well, and it again reinforces that Ash is always going to help people and Pokemon wherever they are. The next episode starts diving a little bit more into the plot, or I guess the final arc of this story, And I'll put the spoiler warning here. Like, all the episodes before this, they were just pretty, like, simple stories. Nothing really too much to spoil. But it does kind of wrap up within these few episodes. So if you haven't seen them for yourself, definitely click off the video now or anything. But if you don't care, then we can just keep going. So in the third to last episode, I believe, Team Rocket basically gets almost all their Pokemon back, which is really cool. We get to see a lot of their Pokemon come back. And it's fun to see familiar faces. They even remember their Pokemon that they traded away or are in different places, like James's Chimecho, the Cacnea, I think the Jesse's Dustox or something? I forget. They have like a whole moment. And now since Team Rocket has so many Pokemon, they have so many resources, they're basically like, okay, let's get Pikachu for real this time. Now that we have so many extra hands on deck. So the plan is they use Mime Jr. as bait. They basically say, oh, Mime Jr., pretend that you are running away from us and you're trying to meet up with Officer Jenny or whatever. So the gang buys it. Pikachu is a bit suspicious at first. But thanks to this act, they separate the whole team. And eventually it comes down to where Pikachu goes straight to this final meetup spot where he's ambushed by Team Rocket and like a bunch of Pokemon. And Pikachu's actually pretty outnumbered. He could probably take them all on knowing how strong he is, but he is outnumbered. And Latias, knowing this, calls on Ash for help. And he literally just immediately rushes over to where Pikachu is. And so does everybody else. There's like this whole little battle that goes down. And Team Rocket once again loses. And they actually have a fight near the end. Pretty much all three of them go their separate ways because they just can't seem to work together. We'll see more of them later though, don't worry. And then after the fight, Latias actually gives Ash this vision about a Latios as well, which I think was pretty cool. And then in the next episode, we get the plot finale. This is the second to last episode, basically. This is the plot finale. So what happens is that Latias uses, I don't know, some move and is able to let Ash know what happened to her, as well as Latios. And they were basically being hunted by this default Pokemon hunter, which honestly looks like a combination between Colress and that guy from the Garatina movie. But he has a really cool Hydreigon, which actually puts up one heck of a fight when going up against a lot of different Pokemon, legendaries included. In the middle of the episode, there's also a short scene where we can see all of Team Rocket returning back to their headquarters, basically saying that they're gonna be a legendary member of Team Rocket, all in their own way. That's literally their only appearance in this episode, though. There's also a nice moment where Ash tries to give Latias some food and they bond, which is really sweet. And then in the next part, we see the Pokemon Hunter is actually like just chasing down Ash. It's sort of like stalking behind so that Ash will lead him to the Latios that he's been trying to capture. So they find Latios injured in a cave. And at first it's like, oh, I don't trust you, but they start bonding a little bit. But then the hunter comes in and ruins everything. And they have like this big old battle where Latias actually gets like turned to stone because of the hunter's freaking beam. I don't know. He has like a beam that turns Pokemon to stone. It's a little weird. But what happens is Ash and Latios, after some back and forth, they team up and they try to take down this hunter. And they actually struggle quite a bit. But eventually, after they learn to fight together, they're able to take out the hunter and break his device, which immediately unfreezes all the Pokemon. I don't know why it does, but it just does. And then he gets captured by Officer Jenny, and that's kind of where the plot was. The whole thing with Latios and Latias is just another story. That's all it is. This is another chapter in Ash's story. And it's pretty cute. Honestly, at the end, Latios is still hurt, and Ash is trying to help it. But the Latios like shoves him off and goes like, nah, dude, we're just gonna do our own thing, just fly off. And what I thought was really interesting was in this episode, they confirm that Pokemon, the Latios and Latias movie is actually canon. Or at least, if it's not canon, the place exists because it shows the city. I forget what it's called. Was it the City of Water? I don't even remember, dude. I haven't seen the movie in a while. But it shows the girl who was actually secretly Latias in the movie. And it shows her in this scene, which is really interesting. It's always been like a question of whether the Pokemon movies are canon. I'm pretty sure it was always like their own canon, right? Like the TV show was its own thing, but the TV show would be canon to the movies, but the movies would not be canon to the TV show. But apparently, from this episode, they confirmed that the Latios and Latias movie is actually canon, or at least is in the world. And I find that to be really cool, actually. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be canon, though, because the girl herself is actually there. I don't know if this implies that all the rest of the movies are canon as well. I highly doubt it, because it just really wouldn't make sense. I would kind of like it, though, because a lot of the movies are pretty cool. Mainly the Gen 3 and 4 ones. I like those ones a lot. But yeah, after this episode, that's kind of the end of the plot. And it was a little, I guess people would say, underwhelming, because they were having like this Latios follow Ash around. But all that happened was it just led him to Latios, and then eventually he and Latios teamed up and battled together against this Pokemon hunter guy, who doesn't even have a name. He's just a Pokemon hunter. But in my opinion, I didn't really see it as underwhelming. I kind of just saw it as like another episode of the show, because again, this is just an epilogue for Ash. This isn't some grand, epic new adventure with like a super big conclusion. It's just like a side story, like a side epilogue. I don't even know how to say it. It feels like post-game, right? If I compare it to a video game, the final battle was against Leon, but this is just like a short little post-game bonus segment. That's all this really feels like, except there's like so much love and references in it just everywhere. And the whole thing with Latios and Latias is just, with his relationship with Latias shows his care for Pokemon, and then with Latios, it also shows that like he easily connects with all Pokemon. Like the Latios was distrustful of him at first, but he like dived in at the Pokemon hunter guy with just himself not even having a Pokemon go after him to help save Latias, and that like proved to Latios that okay, this guy's actually trustworthy. And that's just Ash, dude. He's immediately able to bond with like every Pokemon, just putting himself into these scenarios where he always prioritizes the Pokemon first, which is really cool. And then that leads us into the final episode. It starts with Misty and Brock sort of going their own way, and then Ash heads back to Pallet Town, of all things. He goes back and has a nice meal with his mother and just sort of tells her about their journey. And the next day she has a new pair of shoes for him ready for his next adventure. And he's like, I don't need them just yet. I just need to go to freaking Professor Oak's place and like go see how he's doing. He runs into Tracy, which they just kind of talk and then they just leave. I don't know. It's pretty simple. I think they just wanted to include Tracy there for a second. It shows like Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander. He has to go rescue like a Charmander that fell in a hole or whatever, which is pretty cute. And then Gary is there as well, so that's pretty cool. And Gary actually asks him a really interesting question, and that is, now that you're the champion, how much closer are you to being a Pokemon Master? To which Ash doesn't really have an answer for. And he's clearly like deep in thought about this, but for the next few days, he's just kind of just doing his own thing, doing the thing he always loves, is just spending time with Pokemon, going out on adventures. It's pretty cute. We also get an update on what's happening to Team Rocket. So after they had their falling out, they're now working at headquarters in the restaurant. They're just on like lunch business or whatever. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing now. And they're all just depressed, so they're like, okay, well, let's get back to work, because their break was finished. And they all look at each other and they're like, I don't want to hang out with you guys. Nope, we're not a part of a team or whatever. So Ash and Pikachu, they start heading off onto another adventure into the forest. And then we see that Meowth solo is chasing after Pikachu, and he's like, this is the only path left for me. This is what I've always known. We still got to capture that Pikachu. And what I find to be really nice is when Meowth is hunting after Pikachu, we find out that Jesse and James were also hunting after Pikachu. And they have a nice little reunion where it's like, yep, we're Team Rocket, dude. We're not going anywhere. We're always going to try and capture that freaking Pikachu, dude. That's our thing. And I think that's kind of nice. I think that is really nice where it's just like, they're not going anywhere, right? Like the three of them are I guess I should say the four of them with Wobbuffet. The four of them are still gonna stick together. They're still gonna bother freaking Ash and Pikachu until he actually ages above the age of 10. It's not ending for them, dude. It's not ending for them. So basically, they capture Pikachu in a net. They have their final little Team Rocket motto thing. And Pidgeot comes in and saves Pikachu, which is pretty cute. And then they have one final blasting off again with one last Pikachu Thunderbolt. Another quick thing I forgot to mention, the final, who's that Pokemon? It's Pikachu. The final one is Pikachu, so that's pretty fitting. Despite this being like one of the most overused things in the Pokemon anime, like they have Team Rocket blasting off again, the Team Rocket motto, the Pikachu Thunderbolt thing. It's just like so many reused gags, but it's just like seeing that this is the last one is honestly kind of sad. It really is. So they blast off for the last time, and that's the last we see of Team Rocket. That's literally the last we see of them, which is fine. We all know that they're a team and that they're going to be working on together, and it's pretty nice. It's a pretty nice fitting end for them, you know. Pretty much doing the same that they always did. And then Ash and Pikachu continue on adventuring a little while longer, and once rain starts pouring down, they start running under a tree to take some shelter, and then Ash starts talking to Pikachu about what it means to be a Pokemon Master. He says that being champion wasn't my goal. It was just like a thing that I wanted to do on the journey. What he wants to do is just keep going out on adventures, keep meeting new people, keep meeting new Pokemon, and becoming friends with all of them. And he's like, I think what being a Pokemon Master is befriending all Pokemon that I meet. Just like the Latios and Latias from earlier, which kind of like wraps it all up together, right? Where it's like, okay, well, he found those Pokemon and he befriended them. And it's just really, really sweet. Like, that's what being a Pokemon Master means for Ash. And it was honestly kind of heartwarming, dude. I'm getting a little teary-eyed just thinking about it. So the rain clears up, and then Ash and Pikachu see a nice little rainbow, which of course, you know, Ho-Oh Rainbow. Ho doesn't actually appear in the episode, but the rainbow does, and it's like, haha, Rainbow Ho-Oh. It works, dude. It just works. And then we get the final scene of the anime, which is honestly pretty good. I'm honestly getting a little teary-eyed right now. So Ash's mom comes in to wake him up again, but as it turns out, when she walks in the room, he's already gone, but all we see are a pair of his old, dirty shoes being left behind. And then it cuts to him wearing his new shoes, walking on a new path with Pikachu through these beautiful, like, just now blooming cherry blossoms, which is supposed to be like symbolism of like, oh, their next adventure is now starting, it's now blooming. I actually lied about Team Rocket. I forgot they actually do appear for just a few seconds. They just are watching Ash, that's it. They're just stalking him, which is perfect, dude. It's just perfect. They're still after Pikachu. And then the flowers we start to see bloom, and then Ash, just like at the start of the first episode, comes to the same fork in the road, but this time, when they throw the stick, it goes to the left, and this time, they actually go to the left, because, well, they're going to someplace new. There's always someplace new for them to explore, some new thing for them to do together, and that's it. That's the last scene of the anime. We have like a really beautiful credit scene, which I think is supposed to be like the first one. Honestly, it's been too long. I can't exactly remember, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like the first one. And that's it. It ends with a nice little photo of the old shoes. Oh, that's I like that symbolism of the old shoes, dude, because it's like that's the end. Like, that's the symbolism of Ash's journey being over, is his shoes being all torn up and dirty, and they've been on so many adventures, and that's where he just puts them up. He puts up his shoes because he's now no longer the protagonist of the anime, I guess. That's a really good symbolism. I really like that. I really, really like that. Even just thinking about it kind of makes me teary-eyed, dude. It really does. And he's also hugging Pikachu at the end there, which is really good. And that's the end. But he puts on his new pair of shoes to represent that his adventure is not over. It's just that what we see of Ash's adventure is over, but will still continue on through many more adventures. And honestly, that is just, it's perfect. It's like the perfect way to end the Pokemon anime, because the journey continues. That's the funny guy. The journey continues. That's the guy says at the end. And it's really heartwarming, honestly. It really is. I feel like there are more things I wanted to talk about, like the Pokemon cries are so funny throughout these 12 episodes. The music is really good. I found myself humming along to the music because it's just ripped straight from the game, but like remixed. And it's really just beautiful. A lot of the backgrounds are beautiful. The way the water looks is really beautiful in some scenes as well. There were even some like animated moments that I just thought were like really, really nice looking. I don't know. It was good. it was really freaking good. And I'm kind of sad that not everybody can see that, how some people thought it was underwhelming, because I don't think it needed to be something huge, right? We're laying the character Ash to rest. This is just like an epilogue to his character. It doesn't need to be like some huge big thing. It's just supposed to be like this is what Ash is. This is like what he is at his core. Somebody who loves Pokemon, who's always trying to befriend them. Like, that's him. That's what we want to showcase. And we also want to showcase that while we're putting an end to his character, his journey is not over, which I find to be really, really cool. And honestly, when it comes to the new anime, which they are calling Pokemon Horizons, I think it has potential. Now, what my theory is, when it comes to this new Pokemon era of the anime, I'm assuming that for each game/series, that's what they're going to swap out the protagonist, right? Like, we had Ash for so long, but I think when it comes to these next protagonists, like Lika and Roy, who are the two main protagonists, I don't think that they're going to carry the series for another 20 years. I could be wrong, but what I think is going to happen is these two characters are going to have their adventure, right? They're going to be in Paldea, they're going to have their adventure, and then that's going to be it, right? They're going to have a set ending. They already have like an idea for the set ending, and they're going to end it right at Paldea, and then they're going to move on. When Gen 10 comes out, that's when they'll move on to the next protagonist. That's what my theory is. However, I do think that this anime has promise. Lika seems like a pretty interesting character right from the very start. She has like this weird amulet that has like a mysterious, I don't know, something about it. Roy has this really old-looking Pokeball, which is very mysterious as well. So both the protagonists have a mysterious item with them as well, which is pretty cool. They're also both repping Paldean starters. Lika has a Sprigatito, and Roy has a Fuecoco, so that's pretty cool. No Quaxley to be seen at all, which is unfortunate. But they've been revealing some new characters that'll show up on the screen right now. One in particular is like Captain Pikachu, so they still got the Pikachu rep. You know, it's not Ash's Pikachu or anything, but it is a Pikachu regardless, which is pretty cool. So Pikachu is still going to be chilling in the anime for a while. I'm just wondering, like, well, when it comes to like that different protagonist theory, how are they going to keep reintroducing Pikachu, right? I don't know. I think when it comes to the mysterious items, like the Pokeball that Roy has and the amulet that Lika has, I keep wanting to say Rika, but it's Lika, which is weird. A lot of us thought it was Rika at the start because L and R in Japanese are kind of like combined. But anyway, like those certain items, like they're only going to be mysterious for so long, right? Like the Pokeball, what's in it? We don't know. And once it's revealed, it's like, that's it. That's the mystery of the Pokeball. Now what? Again, I do think that these are one-time protagonists, but I think that they have potential. I think that they do. So far, the anime looks pretty fun. I don't know when this releases. I think, is it next week? I actually have no idea. It just says coming 2023 and beyond, and it honestly shows promise. It really does. I'm pretty excited to see what their adventure is going to all be about. Lika's little hair ribbon also matches Ash's thing, which is pretty cool. I'm just excited for the new anime. I really am, because while this one's closing, a new beginning opens, and I'm going to see if I can like kind of stick with this series and see where the Pokemon anime goes from here, because it's definitely going to be a very interesting time, that's for sure. And I guess I just want to know what you all think about Ash's journey coming to an end, as well as the new Pokemon anime. And it's definitely the end of an era, it really is, but let me know, like, just let me hear your thoughts about like how you felt with the Pokemon anime. Like, share your own stories. I have plenty of stories that I could share, but I don't want this video to go on too long. It's already gone on long enough, so definitely let me know what you think. And I suppose I'll see you all for this new era of the Pokemon anime. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you all later. Have yourselves a great day. Bye-bye.